Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom boom. With a wave of Qin Feng's sleeve, a large number of bone spirits landed on the corpses and ghost objects and began to burn, thoroughly cut the weeds and roots. It didn't take long for these corpses and necromancers to be burnt clean. After finishing these, Qin Feng was also ready to leave. By the way, just sign in here. He suddenly remembered that he hadn't signed in today, so he called out the system. Sign in at Yendang Mountain. Qin Feng said lightly. Ding. Congratulations to the master, you have successfully signed in and obtained the corpse control technique. The system's notification tone also sounded, corpse control technique. This is a sorcery handed down from ancient times, which can refine corpses and control battles. Qin Feng looked at the message and was startled. This Yendang Mountain is not a special place. You actually signed in and obtained such a powerful secret technique. He was a little surprised, but after thinking about it, this place is a place where the Exorcist faction, which became famous all over the world 10,000 years ago, was completely wiped out, which is quite special. He was relieved afterwards, and then chose fusion. A large amount of information was integrated into Qin Feng's mind. The content of the corpse control technique is very strange and mysterious, moreover. According to the information about the corpse control technique, Qin Feng was surprised to find that this secret technique can be traced back to the legend about Underworld, very ancient and mysterious. Hell. Qin Feng was surprised. He had only read a few words about this place in the ancient books, thought it was just folklore. Unexpectedly, there is actually a secret technique, which comes from the Underworld. That is to say, the Underworld is very likely to exist. Forget it, that kind of power is still too far away from me. Qin Feng shook his head and didn't think too much. Then, his eyes turned to the direction of the Imperial City. Qin Feng instantly condensed a wind sword soul. It contains an extremely amazing sword intent, which is very terrifying. Qin Feng's thoughts moved slightly, and the sword soul of the wind shot towards the sky above the Imperial City. Like a shooting star in the dark night, it disappeared at the end of the sky in the blink of an eye. Ming Qi, Yu Cheng, and others are all dead. Those ancient corpses will go completely mad, even more horrifying, and carry out aimless killings. Therefore, he had to take action to destroy those ancient corpses. At the same time, the sky above the Imperial City, originally, the battle was very fierce, and the royal family enshrined 6 people who had already fallen, and several others were seriously injured. Those ancient corpses were also very uncomfortable, and more people died. On the whole, the battle situation still maintains a balance of power, and if it continues to consume, it is only possible that both sides will suffer. There is no real winner. Not suddenly, these ancient corpses suddenly let out a loud roar, which was extremely ear-piercing. It sounded like it came from hell. It makes people feel fear in their souls. Those ancient corpses seemed to be out of control, and started to attack frantically, under the control of Yu Cheng and others. Although these ancient corpses did not know the pain, they at least maintained restraint and tried not to damage their bodies. But now, they don't care about anything and start to attack. Desperately, resisting damage with the physical body, even if it is missing arms or legs, it doesn't care at all. What's going on? Are these ancient corpses crazy? Seeing this scene, Emperor Xia's face changed suddenly. Facing the 2 ancient corpses at the second level of the Purple Mansion realm by himself, it was already difficult for him to parry, but now facing the crazy attacks of these 2 ancient corpses, he was even more defeated. Boom! One of the ancient corpses, after being cut off by Emperor Xia, did not back down, and slapped Emperor Xia's chest with his palm. Emperor Xia spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. The solid ground on the square was smashed and cracked. His Majesty, many ministers stepped forward one after another, helped Emperor Xia up, and gave him healing elixir, and Xia Huang was injured, and the other royal priests were also uncomfortable. They were only harassing, and once the ancient corpses turned to him, they quickly fled back, but now, once those ancient corpses set their sights on them, they kept chasing after them. At that time, a large number of royal family offerings were wounded and fell to the ground. There are also 3 unlucky ancient corpses who were directly besieged and torn to pieces. Bodies were scattered all over the place. Roar. Soon, only the looming dragon's soul was left in the sky, fighting against these ancient corpses. Its figure is constantly blurring, and it can't resist the confrontation of so many ancient corpses. How did this happen? Why do these ancient corpses suddenly seem to go crazy? That Emperor Xia and the others were all dumbfounded, with puzzled expressions on their faces. The other royal priests also looked puzzled, not understanding what happened. Boom! And at this moment, the phantom of the dragon's soul finally couldn't resist, and exploded. Intense energy fluctuations in the sky, like a tsunami, rushed towards the surroundings. At this time, in the Imperial Palace below, the startling dragon formation stopped, and many palaces with formation patterns collapsed. In the sky, a large number of ancient corpses were turned into ashes at this moment. It's just that the 3 ancient corpses from the second level of the Zifu realm survived. Although they are all missing arms and legs, and even have only half of their heads left, they still have extraordinary combat effectiveness. Roar. Their eyes were all looking down. Now in their eyes, only killing remained. Your Majesty, hurry up, I'll stop them. Old Chen and the others shouted hastily. However, Emperor Xia had no intention of escaping, said in a deep voice, we joined hands and risked our lives. Maybe we can kill all these 3 ancient corpses. If I escape, then this palace will be completely reduced to hell on earth. Not only will all the concubines and princes die, but my great Xia dynasty will also become the laughing stock of Canglan. Old Chen and the others were silent when they heard the words. Emperor Xia was blessed with the luck of the dynasty, so he was a very powerful fighter. If he left, there would be no one in the palace anymore, so there would be nothing left to do to get these ancient corpses. Why did God treat me so unfairly to the great Xia dynasty? That the weaker civil and military officials all roared angrily. If Emperor Xia died in battle, the generals who came back to help him would be able to destroy the remaining ancient corpses, but the Crown Prince Qin Junyan's foundation is not stable, and the vassal kings of various places will certainly not surrender willingly. At that time, if civil strife breaks out in the dynasty, it will have a huge blow and impact on the national power of the dynasty. Roar. And at this moment, the 3 ancient corpses were about to dive down. Emperor Xia and the others also had the determination to fight to the death with these ancient corpses. However, at this moment, in the distant sky, a white light suddenly swept over. Chapter 43. Who made the shot? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom boom. This white light carried an incomparably terrifying sword intent, mighty and mighty, galloping like the sea, illuminating the night sky. In the entire imperial city, all eyes were attracted by that white light. What is that? A daytime meteor? No. That's a sword soul. What a terrifying sword intent, that when the white light approached, the people in the imperial city realized that it was actually a sword soul. Nothing but the trembling of the shocked voice. Everyone's eyes were full of disbelief. A sword soul actually contained such a terrifying sword intent. And when everyone was shocked, the sword soul had already arrived in an instant, carrying a terrifying sword intent. It shot at the 3 ancient corpses. Pfft. Without any obstacles at all, this sword soul easily penetrated the bodies of the 3 ancient corpses. Blood rained all over the sky, spilling down. The entire imperial city also fell into silence. Everyone looked at the spilled blood in astonishment, and they were all shocked. 3 ancient corpses from the second level of the Purple Mansion realm were killed in a flash. This is too scary. At this time, the most horrified person was none other than Emperor Xia and the others. Originally, they had already made a death plan to fight these ancient corpses with their own lives, but who would have thought that these ancient corpses would be wiped out in the blink of an eye? The crisis has also been resolved. The sword intent of the wind. This is the sword intent of the wind. Suddenly, Mr. Chen exclaimed and said, the one who made the move must not be Prince Mu. He is already so powerful. In the battle just now, from the beginning to the end, Prince Mu did not make a move. They thought that Prince Mu had already died. From the looks of it now, Prince Mu might be traveling abroad, and looking at the sword intent that hadn't dissipated in the sky that day, Prince Mu probably broke through to the 5th level of the Purple Mansion realm at least, and he should have rescued him just after learning of the danger in the imperial city. If it's really Prince Mu, then my great Xia dynasty will have a strong man who is at least the 5th level of the Purple Mansion realm. God bless my great Xia dynasty. All the ministers and officials in the distance said happily, incomparable excitement and excitement. The pale Emperor Xia also had a smile on his face, with incomparable joy in his heart, at least the powerhouse of the fifth heaven in the Purple Mansion realm. In the entire Canglan territory, no one has heard of such a strong man. Father. Father. However, at this moment, Prince Qin Jianyan rushed over with an anxious look on his face. During the crisis just now, Emperor Xia asked him to ask Prince Mu to help him out. The dignified prince, flustered, how decent is he? Seeing this, Emperor Xia scolded, for the prince, he has always been extremely strict. Father just asked me to invite Prince Mu. Qin Jianyan quickly calmed down his flustered mood, and spoke slowly. I know that Prince Mu is not in the retreat. He has gone on a trip. Emperor Xia said indifferently, the sword just now came from outside the imperial city, didn't you see it? No. However, Qin Jianyan shook his head and said, when I arrived, the pavilion had collapsed because the dragon array stopped working, and I found this among the ruins. As he spoke, he handed a blood book to Emperor Xia. Looking at the blood book in Qin Jianyan's hands, Emperor Xia looked puzzled, but he still reached out to take it over. After seeing the above content, his face changed instantly. 7th, Uncle's 7th Emperor, he has already transformed into Tao. Too shocked, Xia Huang's voice was trembling, and said, how is this possible? That he suddenly set off a monstrous wave in his heart, and his eyes were full of disbelief, his eyes were full of shock. This news was like a bolt from the clear sky to him. What? Prince Mu has already transformed. That when Chen Lao and the others heard the words, they were all shocked beyond measure. They wanted to read the blood book, but Emperor Xia held it tightly. It wrote about Prince Mu's obsession, which must not be rumored. That's right, this blood book was left by Prince Mu before he died, and he has already transformed. Emperor Xia said in an extremely complicated tone, he didn't hide it. Whether such a thing can be concealed is not up to him at all, but depends on whether the owner of the Wind Sword Soul will show up. How is this possible? If Prince Mu had already transformed into Taoism, who killed those 3 ancient corpses just now? That's right. There are people who saved the prince, aren't they all Prince Mu? Old Chen and the others all said in succession. It was hard for them to believe that Prince Mu had actually died a long time ago. Everyone is full of doubts and disbelief. How could I know? Emperor Xia's expression was extremely complicated, and he said, what I don't understand now is, if that strong man is not Prince Mu, why did he help us several times? But everyone present fell into silence. They couldn't accept the news that Prince Mu had passed away long ago, let alone think about this deeper issue. Could it be that the strong man who made the shot has not been helping us, but dealing with the exorcists? Elder Su, who was guarding the scripture pavilion, couldn't help but said, as soon as these words came out, many people looked sideways. If you think about it this way, it's not unreasonable. But what about the demon-suppressing tower? The demons in the demon-suppressing tower appeared, but it had nothing to do with the corpse exorcism sect. Didn't that strong man also attack in the same way? Mr. Chen put forward a different opinion, saying, could it be another possibility? Although the person who made the move is not Prince Mu, he is still a member of the royal family. It's just that he has been hiding his identity and we didn't pay attention. That's not likely, is it? Everyone shook their heads, thinking it was impossible, because if you are really a member of the royal family and have such a powerful cultivation base, you will definitely need a lot of cultivation resources, and hiding your identity is not conducive to obtaining these cultivation resources. Old Chen's idea was rejected, and everyone fell into silence again. In any case, at least that strong man has no malice towards us. At this time, Emperor Xia spoke. On this point, everyone agrees, but other than that, they couldn't get any more information, and after thinking for a while, they couldn't think of an answer. Forget it, the top priority now is not to know the identity of that strong man. After a pause, Emperor Xia continued, it's about telling the world quickly so that the people of the world can feel at ease. In less than 2 days, the news that the imperial city was attacked by the exorcists will inevitably spread throughout the entire dynasty. If it is not announced to the world quickly, in order to reassure the people, who knows what could go wrong. According to the order. Many ministers said one after another. Afterwards, those injured royal priests, also supported by others, returned to the place where the aura of the palace was rich, and meditated to heal their injuries. The Imperial Forest Army began to check to see if there were palace maids and eunuchs in the collapsed palace. As for Jinwei, they searched the palace again to see if there were any members of the corpse exorcism sect. The 4 gates of the imperial city were also retaken by soldiers from the camp outside the city. Chapter 44. Do you want to dig out Emperor Taizu? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Feng didn't know anything about the series of speculations made by Emperor Xia and others. After he came back from Yendang Mountain, he went straight back to the Imperial Mausoleum. He didn't need to deal with the remaining matters after the palace battle, and he didn't bother to take care of them. Uncle? Where did you go just now? At this time, Qin Zining was in the Imperial Mausoleum, and when she saw Qin Feng who had returned, she immediately had a look of surprise. Why are you here? Qin Feng said suspiciously, with such a big battle breaking out in the palace just now, shouldn't Qin Zining have thought of a way to leave the palace long ago? Even if she didn't want to, Emperor Xia and Crown Prince Qin Jianyan wouldn't let such a proud man stay in such a dangerous place. The situation was critical just now. Grandpa Huang told me to leave the palace quickly. Father thought that it was too dangerous for you to be still in the Imperial Mausoleum, so he asked me to take you away together. Qin Zining said truthfully, after I came here, I found that you were not here, and thought you were in danger. Hearing this, Qin Feng couldn't help feeling warm in his heart. He didn't expect Qin Jianyan to remember to let his daughter take him away when he was in such a dangerous situation. I heard movement outside the Imperial Mausoleum just now. I thought it was some ancient corpse from the exorcist sect coming here. Later, I found out that it was some frightened pets running around. Qin Feng said lightly. So this is Qin Zining nodded upon hearing the words, without any doubts. After all, everyone in the entire palace just now was panicked and very chaotic. She then reminded Qin Feng, if there is still the danger of the exorcists attacking the palace next time, Uncle Huang should hurry to the East Palace. It's safer there. Don't worry. There won't be a next time. Qin Feng said lightly. Hearing what he said, Qin Zining was a little puzzled. She didn't understand why Qin Feng said there will be no next time. Although the ancient corpses of the exorcising sect were wiped out, those core members are still alive. But although she was puzzled in her heart, Qin Zining didn't think much about it. She just thought that Qin Feng was comforting herself, so she nodded. She naturally did not expect that the core members of the corpse exorcism sect had already been killed by Qin Feng, and there would be absolutely no next time. Uncle Huang, if there's nothing wrong, I'll go to my father first. There must be a lot of things that need to be dealt with in the palace right now. I'll see if there is anything I can do to help. Qin Zining said to Qin Feng. It is good. Qin Feng nodded and said, be careful on the road, there are other ancient corpses. Although he knew it was gone, he still reminded Qin Zining to be extra careful in everything at any time. Qin Zining nodded and left the imperial tomb. After Qin Zining left, Qin Feng turned his attention to the huge imperial tomb in front of him. Would it be too much if I dug up the corpse of Emperor Taizu and refined it into an ancient corpse? Qin Feng looked at the imperial mausoleum in front of him and muttered to himself, with the ability to control corpses. He looked at the imperial mausoleum in front of him, and he no longer felt that this place was lonely, but only felt that it was a place where treasures were hidden. If Emperor Xia heard these words, he would probably spit out a mouthful of old blood in anger. He asked Qin Feng to guard the imperial tomb here, but Qin Feng actually wanted to dig out the ancient corpse of Emperor Taizu. Forget it. After hesitating for a moment, Qin Feng shook his head. He wasn't afraid of being discovered. With his current cultivation, he could easily dig out the corpse of Emperor Taizu and refine it into an ancient corpse that could fight. But the point is, he doesn't need it. The current him, with a cultivation base that disdains the entire Canglan region, at least none of the superficial powerhouses can be his enemy, so there was no need for him to waste energy refining a corpse. Shaking his head, Qin Feng returned to the reclining chair and continued to practice while sleeping, absorbing the sword energy and the lotion of the earth spirit clock obtained by signing in the next 3 days, the news that the great Xia Imperial City was attacked by the Exorcist sect quickly spread throughout the Canglan region. After all, the Great Xia dynasty was one of the several great dynasties in the Canglan region, and it was not a trivial matter for the Imperial City to be attacked. This matter also caused a huge discussion. No one would have imagined that the Corpse Exorcist sect would grow to such a great extent in just a few years. No matter if it was a major dynasty or a major sect, they were a little flustered. One reason is that if the Corpse sect wants to improve its overall strength, the speed is too fast. As long as there are strong enough corpses, other dynasties and sects are far behind. Secondly, no matter whether it is the dynasty or the sect, they don't want their ancestors' ancestral graves to be dug up by the exorcists. That would be a great shame. It is also because of this that no matter the major sects or the major dynasties, they have launched a campaign against the corpse exorcists within their sphere of influence. If Yu Cheng and others are still there, and there are so many powerful ancient corpses, they don't need to care much about the suppression of these sects and dynasties. After all, the sects of the major dynasties can mobilize very limited Zifu realm powerhouses, and the mobilization of the army is naturally not as fast as they can move the corpses. But now Yu Cheng and others are dead, and those powerful ancient corpses are gone. Facing the siege, the disciples of the ancient corpse sect are in a mess, and a large number of disciples have been arrested and imprisoned. The entire inheritance has been completely severed, and there is no possibility of resurgence. At the same time, the mysterious strong man who beheaded those ancient corpses with his sword also became the subject of discussion. Is that strong man you said to be from the Great Xia dynasty? It's hard to say. That strong man has saved the members of the Daxia royal family several times. Who can say for sure? It is probably a person who has a grudge against the corpse exorcism sect. Seeing the deepest enmity between the Great Xia royal family and the corpse exorcist sect, he helped the Great Xia royal family several times. I really didn't expect that in the entire Canglan region today. Even the second and third level powerhouses of the Purple Mansion realm are rare, and there is actually a strong man above the fifth level of the Purple Mansion realm. Similar voices of discussion kept ringing out throughout the entire Canglan region. Regarding Qin Feng's real identity, various speculations can be described as endless, but generally speaking, most people still think that the mysterious strong man is not a member of the Great Xia royal family. After all, even the inside of the Great Xia royal family, including all civil and military officials, did not know the identity of that mysterious person. They felt that the mysterious strong man lived in seclusion in the territory of the Great Xia dynasty at most, and when these discussion voices are constantly going on, in the palace, it was a sad scene, and the atmosphere in the whole palace was extremely depressing. Emperor Xia's life is in danger. After the battle with those ancient corpses from the corpse exorcist sect, Emperor Xia ordered all kinds of matters, and just after dispelling the imperial luck that was blessed on him, he vomited blood and fell to the ground. He was already old, and he was seriously injured during the battle with those ancient corpses. It was not so obvious when he was blessed by the luck of the dynasty, and once the imperial fortune that blessed him dissipated, Emperor Xia couldn't bear it completely. Under the treatment of many imperial physicians and precious elixirs, he barely survived for 3 days. Chapter 45 Forcing the Palace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the third day of Qin Feng's rest, Chu Xiong came suddenly. Your Highness, the corpse exorcist sent to attack last time, are you alright? Chu Xiong came to the imperial tomb and asked worriedly. The battlefield is so far away from here, what can I do? Qin Feng smiled lightly, and then asked suspiciously, aren't you in the imperial camp? Why did you come to the imperial palace? Your Highness doesn't know yet, Chu Xiong said in surprise. What's the matter? Qin Feng looked puzzled. Your Majesty's injuries are getting worse day by day. Half of the more than troops in the entire camp are stationed in the imperial city to prevent any special incidents from happening in the imperial city. Chu Xiong said slowly, although he didn't say it explicitly, the meaning was obvious, to prevent people from various vassals from making any noise in the imperial city. Hearing this, Qin Feng was taken aback. He really didn't know that Emperor Xia's injury was getting worse. Because he hasn't been out much, he couldn't help looking in the direction of the Hall of Mental Cultivation. Now that half of the army in the imperial city camp is about to be stationed in the imperial city, how serious is Emperor Xia's injury? While Qin Feng was thinking, Chu Xiong revealed his purpose of coming, which was to remind Qin Feng to be more careful recently, in case of any accidents in the palace. His identity as a deposed prince is very sensitive, and he might be used by someone with a heart. Okay, I get it. Qin Feng nodded. He is not a fool, how could he be used by others? Afterwards, Qin Feng asked about Chu Xiong's cultivation situation, inadvertently gave him some guidance, and let him go first. If Emperor Xia died now, wouldn't the entire dynasty be in turmoil? Qin Feng muttered to himself, although he stays at home, he still has some understanding of the current situation in the great Xia dynasty. If Emperor Xia died now, it would definitely not be a good thing. The best situation is that Emperor Xia arranges everything, stabilizes Qin Jianyan's position, and then dies. Thinking of this, Qin Feng withdrew his gaze and slowly closed his eyes. Wisps of spiritual energy in the body floated out, flying in the direction of the Hall of Mental Cultivation. At the same time, in the Hall of Mental Cultivation, Emperor Xia was lying on the bed with a pale face. The three best imperial physicians in the entire imperial hospital are all here, and the tables not far away are filled with various rare medicines, but even so, these imperial doctors still showed embarrassment on their faces, constantly shaking his head and sighing. How is father? Prince Qin Jianyan stepped forward and asked with great concern. The medical skills of the ministers are poor, it is difficult to heal. Those imperial doctors are helpless. What? As soon as this remark came out, Qin Jianyan's expression changed, and he found it difficult to accept it. Although he would be able to inherit the throne if Emperor Xia passed away, he didn't feel the slightest joy in his heart. The injury caused to His Majesty in that battle was too serious, and the yin qi continued to spread in his body. We have no way to stop it at all. Those imperial doctors said helplessly. They have tried every means. However, Emperor Xia's injury not only did not improve, but even worsened. Hearing the words, several important ministers present looked at each other with incomparably solemn expressions. Now the imperial palace has just been attacked by exorcists. A large number of palaces have been destroyed, and many powerful people have fallen. The majesty of the entire royal family has dropped to the lowest level in these years. Moreover, the prince's control over the armies in various places is also very limited. If Emperor Xia passed away at this time and Prince Qin Jianyan was allowed to ascend the throne, what would happen to the vassal kings who were like wolves everywhere? Taking the opportunity to ask for more rewards is the lightest. Maybe they will take the opportunity to raise troops and fight for the throne. The other great dynasties and sects will definitely not stand idly by. By that time, the survival of the entire great Xia dynasty will become a huge problem. Long years. At this moment, Emperor Xia suddenly spoke, with an extremely weak voice. It seems to be cut off at any time. Father. But when Qin Jianyan heard the words, he hurried forward with a sad expression on his face. Tears couldn't help but flow down. Why are you crying? Seeing this, Emperor Xia grabbed Qin Jianyan's hand and scolded in an extremely weak voice. After I die, you will be the new king of the great Xia dynasty, and you must not be seen as weak. One side, you have to make all your subjects fear you, so that you can suppress all dissatisfied people. This is the philosophy he has always believed in. He has also followed through. Yes, father. Although Qin Jianyan did not agree with Emperor Xia's teaching, but at this time, he did not say anything, but nodded. Emperor Xia nodded. Then, he wanted to say something else. However, at this moment, there was a loud noise outside. Who? How dare you trespass into the important place of the palace? The royal forest army shouted angrily outside, and this voice made all the important officials in the Hall of Mental Cultivation startled, and then their faces became extremely ugly. Could it be that someone from the vassal king forced his way into the palace? A minister said in a deep voice. They had long expected that if Emperor Xia passed away, there would definitely be chaos, but they didn't expect that this chaos would happen so quickly. Could it be that some vassal king has come to the imperial city and wants to force the palace? Many ministers looked outside the Hall of Mental Cultivation. But the scene in front of them made them unforgettable for the rest of their lives. All the imperial forest army outside the palace drew their weapons one after another, waiting in full force, looking into the distance with serious expressions. On the road paved with bluestone slabs in the distance, a vague figure walked slowly towards the palace. and when the figure approached, everyone was shocked to find out. That figure is not human at all. It's a pure energy body, composed of spiritual energy and sword energy, and it's just a human form. What is this? Seeing Qin Feng who was approaching, all the imperial guards outside the palace were pale and shocked, their voices were trembling. This is beyond their knowledge. Who is your excellency? Why did you trespass on my great Xia palace? Chen Lao, who was secretly in charge of guarding the Hall of Mental Cultivation, appeared and shouted loudly. He could see that the other party was not a monster, but the incarnation of a strong man. Thump. However, just as Mr. Chen finished speaking, Qin Feng looked over. As if Mr. Chen was being targeted by an ancient beast, he knelt down on the ground uncontrollably. The coercion on his body is like carrying a mountain on his back. This scene left all the ministers and the Imperial Forest Army dumbfounded in shock. Old Chen, who had the strongest cultivation base, was shocked to kneel on the ground by the other party's gaze. Which feudal lord invited this strong man? Escort. Come and escort. Several ministers in the Hall of Mental Cultivation all shouted loudly. However, all the royal guards, as well as the strong guards who were secretly guarding here, all remained silent. Qin Feng was really terrifying. They are like ants, looking up at the gods. If you don't kneel down and worship, you already have enough courage, let alone stop Qin Feng. This had nothing to do with his loyalty to Emperor Xia, it was entirely a shock from the depths of his soul. Amidst countless horrified gazes, Qin Feng's avatar came to the palace and walked slowly towards the bed where Emperor Xia was. Stop! Don't hurt my father. With the luck of the dynasty, Qin Zhonyan forcibly overcame his inner fear, pulled out the Tianzi sword hanging on the bed next to him, and slashed at Qin Feng. P.S. There will be guests at home tomorrow, and it is estimated that they will drink. Try not to affect the normal update that if I'm still awake. Chapter 46 Terrible Means. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, before the Son of Heaven sword approached Qin Feng, it stopped, as if cutting on an air wall. Qin Zhonyan's face was ugly. He found that the Tianzi sword not only failed to block the mysterious man in front of him, but he himself was suppressed, unable to move, and frozen in place. At this time, the entire Hall of Mental Cultivation was filled with deathly silence, and everyone looked at the figure in front of them with astonishing aura that was completely condensed from spiritual energy and sword energy. It is hard to imagine in my heart what kind of terrifying cultivation this person is, and at this time, Qin Feng had already arrived at Emperor Xia's bed. He cast his pupils, and in the eyes, mysterious and complicated runes emerged, and he began to check Emperor Xia's injuries. The Yin Qi has spread so badly, under normal circumstances, it is indeed too difficult to cure you. Qin Feng muttered to himself, because it is composed of pure spiritual energy and sword energy, the voice he makes is also very strange, not like a normal human being at all. Seeing this, many imperial physicians present all had expressions of horror. They had so many imperial physicians, it took them a whole day to see where Emperor Xia's injury was, and this mysterious person could see it in an instant. They find it incredible. You didn't come to kill me. Emperor Xia, who was on the bed, had just seen this mysterious man approaching from a distance. His eyes were full of fear and uneasiness, but when this figure really came in front of him, he calmed down instead, because he couldn't feel any killing intent from this mysterious person. There was even a slight sense of intimacy, which made him very at ease. You are not qualified to let me kill myself. Qin Feng said lightly. If he wanted to kill Emperor Xia, why would he need to condense his external avatar? It only needs to condense a sword light in the Imperial Mausoleum to take the life of Emperor Xia. Hearing this, Emperor Xia was a little dumbfounded. Today, the startling dragon array in the palace has not been repaired. If such a strong man wants to kill him, there is really no need to expend such a huge amount of effort. Then why did you come here? Emperor Xia's breath was weak, and he said slowly. You'll find out soon. Qin Feng said lightly. While speaking, he took out a fiery red flower, the other side of the flower. In the Demon Mountains, he got the Bianhua, which can prolong life, and originally wanted to make soup for Qin Zening, but now that Emperor Xia was dying, he planned to use it for Emperor Xia. Seeing this flower, two imperial physicians stared wide-eyed. They did not expect that Qin Feng actually had the Bana flower in his hand. This is an extremely cherished life-prolonging spiritual flower. Not even a single one appeared in the entire Great Xia dynasty. They desperately wanted to speak. Xia Huang's situation is too bad now. If Xia Huang swallowed the Bana flower directly, not only would it not have the effect of prolonging life, but it would speed up Xia Huang's death. It must be tempered with furnace fire to get rid of a small part of the cold yin qi inside and some of the overly strong medicinal effects, and the mysterious person in front of him didn't bring a pill furnace at all, so he obviously didn't intend to temper the bianhua. These imperial doctors worked extremely hard, but they were so suppressed that they couldn't speak at all, and their eyes were full of anxiety. Now Emperor Xia obviously has a chance to be saved. It would be a pity if he just missed it. Boom. But at this moment, in Qin Feng's hand holding the bianhua, a ball of white flame suddenly ignited. In the scorching heat, there was a bit of biting coldness, which was extremely strange. This burning flame shocked everyone in the Hall of Mental Cultivation. They had never seen such a strange flame. And what happened next left everyone stunned. Boom boom. The bone spirit in Qin Feng's hands began to temper the bone flower. The originally bright and fiery red Bana flowers gradually withered and scorched black, and the essence inside was refined. Drops of crystal clear liquid floated above Qin Feng's palm, exuding a faint medicinal fragrance. Just smelling it is very refreshing, make people feel comfortable. The result of tempering was perfect to the extreme. At this moment, whether it was the imperial physicians or other people in the Hall of Mental Cultivation, they were all shocked beyond measure, and felt that it was really astonishing, tempering the other shore flower with bare hands. In this world, there is actually someone who can refine the bianhua with his bare hands without the help of a pill furnace. You must know that even those who have never learned alchemy know that the alchemy furnace is extremely important if you want to temper the spirit grass, and the patterns depicted on it have a strong auxiliary effect on the refining process, not to mention that it is more difficult to refine such a rare flower of the other side, and the required level of the alchemy furnace is also higher. And the mysterious person in front of him actually tempered the Bana flower with his bare hands, and the tempering effect was so good, not only extracted the most essential part of the Bana flower, but also combined the powerful medicinal effect. How could they not be shocked? Those imperial physicians almost wanted to kneel down to Qin Feng. Open your mouth. At this time, Qin Feng was extremely calm and said lightly, not to mention tempering the flowers of the other side with bare hands. Even alchemy with bare hands is not difficult for him. His alchemy attainments are beyond the comprehension of these imperial physicians. After hearing the words, Emperor Xia recovered from the shock, and opened his mouth with difficulty. Tick-tock. Drops of liquid entered Xia Huang's mouth. He swallowed. In an instant, he felt the majestic vitality raging in his body, pouring into his limbs and bones, and the yin qi that had invaded his body was turned into vigorous vitality by the medicinal effect of the Bana flower. He felt extremely warm in his body. His old body is also recovering rapidly. Is this the legendary Bana flower? The effect is so obvious. Emperor Xia was amazed. The breath of his speech is no longer weak, and it is much more normal. The other people in the Hall of Mental Cultivation were also extremely shocked, seeing the effect of the legendary bianhua for the first time. He actually came to rescue the emperor. Qin Jianyan was very surprised. At the same time, I feel a little guilty, feeling that I was too rude just now, but I want to apologize, but I still can't move. Don't be overly happy. This bianhua flower can help you prolong your life by about 10 years at most. Qin Feng said lightly. Emperor Xia was not disappointed when he heard the words. He was about to die, but now he can live another 10 years, so he is naturally very happy. More importantly, he was able to use these 10 years to reshuffle the army of the entire dynasty, at least allowing Qin Jianyan to fully control the army, and Jiniwei. Thank you senior for your help. Emperor Xia said incomparably gratefully. No need to thank me. Qin Feng said lightly. His purpose of saving Emperor Xia was not that simple, so he didn't care about Emperor Xia's thanks. After a pause, he continued, I just hope you better not do stupid things, such as investigating my identity. Don't dare. Don't dare. When Emperor Xia heard the words, his heart trembled, and he said quickly. Qin Feng nodded, but he didn't stay here, and turned to leave. Walking out of the Hall of Mental Cultivation, the avatar immediately dissipated and disappeared between the heaven and the earth. Drunk and dizzy, this is a chapter one wrote this morning, and now that it's published, I can barely keep my eyes open, so I need to get some sleep. If I can still wake up tonight, I will update chapter 2, if not, it will be updated later. You don't have to wait, even if it can be updated, it is probably early in the morning. Chapter 47 The Golden Cup will drink with you, and the White Sword will not forgive each other. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Call. After Qin Feng left, the coercion pervading the entire hall of mental cultivation dissipated, and everyone inside and outside the hall of mental cultivation couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. The huge pressure on them just now almost made them breathless, but now it is much better. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, feeling like a dream, unreal. That person is simply too powerful. Not only is his cultivation base terrifying, but he can also make alchemy with bare hands. It's hardly like a real person. However, Emperor Xia, who had recovered, was reminding them that they were not dreaming just now, and everything was real. Father, Qin Jianyan hurried forward and asked, how do you feel now? Almost fully recovered from the injury. Emperor Xia said slowly. He looked at his son with some surprise. He didn't expect that this son, who seemed a little weak on weekdays, would have the courage to draw his sword and slash at the mysterious man just now when everyone was terrified and trembling. He looked at Qin Jianyan with admiration. I feel that I may not fully understand this son, at this time. Several imperial physicians also stepped forward one after another, and checked Emperor Xia's body again, making sure that Emperor Xia's injuries were almost recovered. The incarnation outside the body just now was condensed from spiritual energy and sword energy, and it was the sword intent of the wind. I am afraid that he is the strong man who has helped us several times. At this time, old Chen, who was forced to kneel on the ground just now, also came from outside and said slowly. It should be the strong man. After a pause, Emperor Xia said, at first, I thought that he should have vendetta against the exorcist sect, so he helped us several times, but now it seems that it may not be that simple. Even if he wasn't hiding in the palace, he was definitely inextricably linked with the great Xia royal family. Your Majesty's speculation is very reasonable. Old Chen and many important officials nodded. They all have the same idea in their hearts. Your Majesty, do you want me to focus on the investigation of the strong men who had a relationship with the great Xia royal family and their descendants? Jiniwei Zhenfu envoy said in a deep voice. Although Qin Feng had already warned them just now, this is what Jiniwei did. No. However, Emperor Xia immediately said, from now on, we are no longer allowed to investigate the identity of the strong man, so as not to anger him. It is enough to know that the strong man has a good impression of the Xia royal family, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't know about the others. Well. Jiniwei Zhenfu envoy nodded upon hearing this. Also, what happened here today, you must block the news, and no one is allowed to spread it. Emperor Xia said again, let's just say that the imperial physician has cured my injury. According to the order. All the people present said one after another, those who appeared here today are all important officials of the court, and the Imperial Forest Army outside are also the most elite group, so it is very simple to block the news. In the Imperial tomb, Qin Feng opened his eyes. 10 years should be enough to stabilize the position of the prince, right? Qin Feng muttered to himself. After pondering for a moment, he felt that it was almost the same. After all, it is enough to hand over the army to Qin Jianyan, replace the important generals in the army with Qin Jianyan's people, or let them be grateful to Qin Jianyan. Thinking of this, Qin Feng didn't think about it anymore. He lay down on the recliner and continued to rest. In the next period of time, the news that Emperor Xia's injury had recovered caused the vassal kings everywhere to be extremely disappointed. If Qin Jianyan inherits the throne now, even if they don't seize the throne, they can coerce and lure them to gain more fiefdoms and power. In the past 2 years, a large number of important generals in the army were imprisoned in the prison without warning. A small part of them really violated the law secretly, but a bigger part is completely weaving charges. The criminal department and Dali Temple interrogated these generals together. For a while, these generals were panicked, not knowing what would happen to them. Let you drink from the golden bottle, and you will not be spared with a white blade. This was what Emperor Xia had said to them when he ascended the throne. they never thought that the white blade would fall on their own head so quickly, not only in the army, but also in the imperial court. Many officials, even the ministers of the Ministry of War and the Ministry of Household Affairs, were imprisoned in prisons. Some of the vassal kings from all over the country were relatively weak, and Qin Wei broke into the palace directly to arrest them. For a time, the wind was roaring. All the vassal kings were also a little scared. They didn't know what Emperor Xia was going to do. Many vassal kings gave gifts to the crown prince, hoping that the prince would speak more kind words in front of Emperor Xia. Not only the vassal king, but also many ministers in the court also went to curry favor with the prince. After all, in this dynasty, only the crown prince can persuade Emperor Xia, and Qin Jianyan also had a very headache because of this incident. So he came to the imperial tomb to confide in Qin Feng. Brother Huang, father imprisoned so many ministers, generals, and feudal lords all at once, shouldn't he kill them all? Qin Jianyan asked. Although he somewhat hated those vassal kings, the ones Xia Huang ordered to arrest were all small vassal kings, who didn't have much power, and few of them dared to seize the people's land and act violently on weekdays. Otherwise, the local officials will not spare them. Don't worry. They won't die for the time being. In the end, whether they are dead or alive depends entirely on you. Qin Feng said lightly. He has read through the 24 histories, and he still understands the emperor's strategy. Brother, what does this mean? Qin Jianyan was a little puzzled. Didn't you tell me last time that Emperor Father only has 10 years left to live? Now he's imprisoning these generals, ministers, and vassal kings, accusing them of crimes one by one, then kill one every 3 to 5 times. After he passed away and you ascended the throne, kill a small number of those who are truly guilty and release most of the innocent ones. At that time, those who are still alive will not be grateful to you. After Qin Feng paused, he continued, besides, at that time, everyone will feel that the father is getting old and confused in his later years. Fortunately, you have a wise king like you succeeding to the throne, and the hearts of the people will be on your side. This strategy is not particularly complicated, and even many ministers who have been in prison understand it in their hearts, but when the butcher's knife was really hanging on them and the whole family, there was only fear in their hearts, because no one knew what Emperor Xia was thinking. Whoever can forgive them at that time will be their reborn parents. So it is, that when Qin Jianyan heard the words, he suddenly felt enlightened. He didn't expect that Emperor Xia's purpose was for him to successfully succeed to the throne. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, Brother Huang, maybe you are more suitable for the throne than me. His whole mind is on how to improve people's livelihood, but he doesn't know much about this kind of tactics. Qin Feng smiled, but did not speak. Now he has no interest in this kind of throne at all. Chapter 48 The Demon Sect Leader. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Next, Qin Jianyan and Qin Feng chatted about some things, and then left the imperial tomb. Qin Feng continued his penance. After about half a year, the shocking dragon formation, which had stopped functioning, was also repaired. The palace was finally restored to tranquility. With the protection of the shocking dragon formation, at least there is no need to worry about someone sneaking into the palace all day long. But to Qin Feng, it didn't make any difference whether or not the startling dragon formation is in operation. The aura here is as thin as ever. Fortunately, he doesn't need the aura gathered by the startling dragon formation. Time flies by, and in the blink of an eye, it is already 2 years later. Boom boom. Qin Feng, who was on the reclining chair, suddenly breathed heavily. In his body, the aura fluctuated like a surging river, making the sound of huge waves. It was deafening. If it weren't for the protection of the divine hidden formation, the sound would probably spread throughout the entire palace. At the same time, there was a majestic spiritual energy in Qin Feng's body, which gushed out continuously. Wherever he passed, the vegetation in the Imperial Mausoleum was nourished and became more vigorous. The 8th layer of the Purple Mansion realm. Qin Feng muttered to himself, and said, with this speed, it may take many years to break through to the void refining realm. However, he was not in a hurry. In this Canglan realm, there is not much difference between the 8th heaven of Zifu realm and the void refining realm. Anyway, he is an invincible existence. Qin Feng got up slowly, stretched his waist, and then prepared to change his position and continue to sleep. Kindness. Suddenly, Qin Feng frowned slightly. He noticed that there were many fox footprints and a few white hairs under the ancient tree not far away. Obviously, the little white fox came back and then left again, because Qin Feng's spiritual sense emitted during cultivation could only detect dangerous auras. He didn't notice that the little white fox had returned. Too much. Qin Feng couldn't help but said, "Do you think this is a brothel? Come and leave if you want." That he felt that next time the little white fox came again, he had to let the little white fox know who was the master here. With this thought in mind, Qin Feng lay back on the reclining chair again, warming up his meridians to prevent his aura just breaking through. Morning 3 months later, Qin Feng was warming and nurturing his meridians, but Qin Zining came. She looked very happy. "What is it, so happy?" Seeing this, Qin Feng asked with a smile. "The spiritual path has been opened," Qin Zining said excitedly. "The opening time of this spiritual path is random, and sometimes it may not be opened once every 2 or 3,000 years. She did not expect that it would be opened in their generation." Ling Road. Qin Feng felt a little strange when he heard the words, and after thinking about it for a while, he remembered the information about the spiritual road. That is a very special secret realm. The entrance is located in the most central area of the entire Canglan domain. Not only is the opening time very random, but the requirements for those who enter it are also very strict. When entering the spiritual path, the secret realm will automatically test the cultivator's roots, talent, age. Anyone that fails will be kicked out, and the various treasures of heaven and earth in the spiritual path are also very rich, and there are countless rare spiritual grasses and spiritual fruits. Someone even obtained a small piece of material from it that could cast a holy vessel. Although it is only the size of a little finger, it is still extremely precious. After the news spread, that person was directly accepted as a disciple by a holy place on the Eternal Continent, which made countless people envious. You must know that the Eternal Ancient Continent is divided into many domains, and the Canglan domain is just the most inconspicuous one. Those holy places are in very powerful domains. As long as they are willing, they can easily destroy the entire Canglan domain. Entering the Holy Land is an opportunity that many people dream of. Since the Great War of Sealing Demons, the Canglan region's martial arts have declined seriously. If the spiritual path is opened this time, it will be of great benefit to the entire Canglan region. Qin Zining said happily. The people sent by the great Xia royal family to enter the spiritual path this time should be you too, Qin Feng asked. Kindness. Qin Zining nodded. She is now the #1 genius of the great Xia royal family, so she is naturally one of the rare places to enter the spiritual path. After a pause, she continued, "I'm here this time to say goodbye to the Emperor's uncle. The experience in the spiritual path is estimated to last for 4 or 5 years, and I won't be able to come back. Let's go after eating," Qin Feng said slowly. "Uncle Huang will prepare your favorite hot pot for you." Hot pot. Qin Zining was just saying goodbye, but after hearing the words, she couldn't help swallowing, and said, "Okay." Afterwards, Qin Feng got up and got busy. He was cooking and chatting. During the period, he also found a reason, took back the pure little sword that was given to Qin Zining before, injected the purest sword intent into it, and then returned it to Qin Zining. If there is any danger, the sword intent in this pure little sword will burst out to protect Qin Zining. At the same time, on the coastline in the northwest of the Great Xia dynasty, a large number of demon cult disciples gathered. Wearing black robes, all of them seemed to exude a strange aura. All the disciples of the demon sect practiced the demon clan kung fu. The only difference is that those demons devour human beings to improve their cultivation and prolong their lifespan, while the disciples of the demon cult devour monsters to improve their cultivation and prolong their lifespan. It is precisely because of this difference that the demon cult has been able to survive in the northern wilderness despite the poor relationship with the major dynasties and sections. Because they are not demons after all, the major dynasties and sects do not want to devote all their efforts to destroy the demon sect. The leader has been at sea for 100 years. I don't know if he has found a way to heal his wounds and prolong his life. The great elder of the devil's cult said in a deep voice, "This leader is extremely talented, and at a young age, he has already broken through to the Purple Mansion realm. He can be said to be the first genius in the Canglan domain." However, during a training session, he strayed into a dilapidated secret realm. The space inside was chaotic and would collapse at any time. Although he tried his best to escape, he was still severely injured. Few years of life left, I can only go to sea to find a way to prolong my life. Who can guess that? The second elder of the demon sect said slowly. When the leader went out to sea, he asked the deducer who traveled here to deduce it, saying that if he can find the method of prolonging life, he will definitely return today. Let's just wait and see. The great elder of the devil's cult nodded, and looked at the sea in front of him. Not long after, a sound of commotion suddenly sounded, and at the end of everyone's field of vision, there was a figure, returning from the waves, approaching quickly. Master! It's the leader! Some demon disciples exclaimed. All of a sudden, there were cheers everywhere. All the demon disciples knelt down one after another. We welcome the return of the moon worshipper. The voice of shouting, extremely loud, spread throughout the coastline. The one owed yesterday will be made up in a few days. Everyone can rest assured. By the way, ask for a free gift. Everyone's support is the biggest motivation for me to update. Chapter 49. With one's own power, pushing across the Canglan domain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Above the waves, the moon worshipper was wearing a black robe with a strange pattern on it, exuding a powerful aura, and taking a slow step, he came to the beach. Get up, the Lord of Worshipping the Moon said with a thick voice and an indifferent expression. Has the leader found a way to prolong life? The second elder of the devil's cult said in a very pleasant surprise. Kindness. The master of worshipping the moon said lightly. Many demon sect disciples were overjoyed upon hearing the words. Worship the moon sect master. Longevity is boundless. Worship the moon sect master. Longevity is boundless. Shouting voice, one after another, deafening. At this time, the great elder of the devil's sect looked at the moon worshipper in front of him with a solemn expression, as if he was doubting something. I have successfully returned from life extension this time. Are you unhappy? The leader of worshipping the moon noticed the great elder and said lightly. No. The great elder shook his head quickly, and then said suspiciously, how did I find out that the aura on the leader's body is different from before? The difference was subtle, but he felt it was obvious. Really? The Lord of worshipping the moon chuckled, and said lightly, probably because I have devoured too many human beings, and the evil spirit on my body is too heavy. When he spoke, he always kept a calm smile on his face, as if he was just talking about a very ordinary thing. What? The leader devoured human beings. As soon as this remark came out, the faces of all the disciples of the devil's cult present changed. You must know that the biggest difference between them and demons is that they do not devour humans. It is also because of this that they have reached a tacit agreement with the major forces. Within the scope of the northern wasteland, they can move and develop at will. Why, do you think there is a problem? The master of worshipping the moon said lightly. His tone was calm, but the powerful aura on his body was naturally revealed. Purple Mansion Realm 5th Layer Heaven. During these years at sea, he has traveled to many island countries and devoured many human beings. Not only has his lifespan increased, but his cultivation has also been greatly improved. All the demon sect disciples present turned pale under this coercion, feeling the immense pressure. No one dared to speak at all. The first generation leader set the rules to practice demon skills, but you must not devour human beings. As the leader, you actually violated the rules. The great elder of the devil's cult said angrily. What's the difference between you and the demon now? Everyone in the world calls us the devil's cult and classifies us as demons. I devour the human race, so what's wrong with me? The master of worshipping the moon said coldly. Humph. A coward who is afraid of death. You still have the face to argue for yourself. The great elder of the devil's cult snorted coldly, and angrily reprimanded. Listen to you, are you not afraid of death? In the eyes of the Lord of worshipping the moon, the coldness has turned into killing intent. It's just death, why not be afraid of it? The great elder of the devil's sect said coldly, I joined this sect to help the human race find a different way of cultivation, not to harm the same race like a demon. He is righteous and awe-inspiring, and he is not afraid of the moon worshipper, only contempt in his eyes. He was originally the young master of a declining family, and his cultivation could have revived the family, but he was full of ambitions. In order to help mankind find a new way of cultivation, he joined the devil's cult. Despite the world's disgrace, everything the moon worshipper is doing now clearly violates the original intention of the devil's cult. Since you are not afraid of death, then I will fulfill you. The master of worshipping the moon slowly raised his palm. Suddenly, a large amount of blood-colored light floated out from the body of the great elder of the demon sect, and began to enter the body of the moon worshipper. What? The great elder of the devil's cult suddenly let out a cry of pain, and he roared, "Shameless human traitor, you can kill me. If you join the demon, your end will be 1,000 times more miserable than mine." 10,000 times. Hearing the words, the patriarch of the moon worship showed anger on his face, and grabbed the palm of his hand in the air, and the great elder of the demon sect turned into a blood mist, then it was swallowed up by him directly. The aura emanating from his body has also been greatly enhanced. Hiss. All the demon sect disciples present could not help but gasp. In the past, the cultivation base of the great elder was a small realm higher than that of the moon worshipping sect master, but now it was directly swallowed up, and there is no way to fight back. Each of them showed a look of fear. Is there any one of you who is not afraid of death? The master of worshipping the moon looked indifferently, looked at the many demon disciples, and said indifferently. As soon as this remark came out, no one dared to speak. All are silent. They don't have their own bottom line like the great elder, and many of them even feel that the rule of not allowing human beings to be devoured is unreasonable. It simply limits the speed at which their cultivation can grow. Swallowing monsters, how can it swallow humans? And the cultivation base can be improved quickly. Seeing that no one spoke, the lord of worshipping the moon withdrew his gaze, looked at the second elder, and said, "Where is Linger? Why didn't she come?" The Linger he was talking about was the devil's saint, Linger. Qi report to the leader. When Linger went to practice in the great Xia dynasty, she was rescued by their prince, and after she came back, she has been unable to retreat. The second elder of the devil's sect was still afraid of the scene just now. His voice trembling, said, "I went to see her today, but she is still in retreat, so I didn't disturb her." Hearing the words, the lord of worshipping the moon frowned slightly. He said, "Could it be that Linger is in love with that Prince Xia? It's not very clear." The second elder of the demon sect shook his head when he heard this. No matter what, to be on the safe side, it's better to kill that prince. The leader of worshipping the moon said lightly, "You go back first, I will go to the great Xia imperial city." He is now at the 5th level of the Zifu realm, and he doesn't pay attention to the dragon's shocking formation in the great Xia imperial city at all, thinking that he can destroy it by himself. What? The second elder of the demon sect heard the words, and quickly reminded, the leader, "Don't be impulsive." In the great Xia dynasty, there are also Zifu realm 5th layer powerhouses, who seem to be inextricably linked with the great Xia royal family. The sword that night traveled a long distance before reaching the imperial city. Many strong people saw it. It is generally speculated that Qin Feng's cultivation should be at the 5th level of the Purple Mansion realm. What did you say? Hearing the words, the lord of worshipping the moon frowned, wondering if he had heard it wrong. The second elder of the demon sect didn't dare to hide anything, and hurriedly informed the moon-worshipping sect master the news that all the ancient corpses were killed by the sword when the corpse exorcist sect attacked the great Xia palace that day. In this Canglan domain, there is actually a powerhouse of the 5th layer of the Purple Mansion realm hidden. The master of worshipping the moon was very surprised. When he returned this time, he thought that he could easily push across and rule the entire Canglan territory, but he didn't expect that his thinking was a bit too simple. This made him look a little ugly. The reason why he survived the sea trip this time was not just as simple as devouring human beings, but also had the support of a powerful demon behind him. For some reason, the powerful demon was unable to go to the Canglan domain in person. He just made a promise to rule the entire Canglan territory within 100 years, and treat the entire human race in the Canglan territory as a petri dish for cultivating the blood food of the demon race. If there are still Zifu realm 5th layer powerhouses in Canglan territory, it will be very difficult for him to control the entire Canglan territory, and even his life is in danger. He might be able to compete with the 5th level powerhouse in the Purple Mansion realm, but if the major dynasties also join in, he will definitely lose. What happened to the priest? Seeing the Lord of Worshipping the Moon with an ugly expression on his face, the second elder asked suspiciously. It's nothing. The Lord of Worshipping the Moon shook his head, and then asked, apart from this, has anything else happened to the Canglan domain during the 100 years since I left? Hearing the words, the second elder of the Devil's Sect quickly told the Moon Worshipper about the opening of the spiritual path. Chapter 50 The Spiritual Path Opens. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The spiritual path is about to open. Hearing the words, the Patriarch of the Moon Worship was stunned, obviously a little surprised. Well, the spiritual path will indeed be opened soon. The second elder of the Demon Sect nodded, and said slowly, at that time, the most outstanding geniuses among the major forces will all enter the spiritual path and compete for those heavenly materials and earthly treasures. The Lord of Worshipping the Moon fell into deep thought. A moment later, a cold light flashed in his eyes, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he murmured, it seems that God is giving me a chance. He already had a plan in his heart that would make all the major dynasties submit to him willingly. At that time, all the demons in the demon-suppressing tower will be released, not to mention the powerhouses of the 5th level of the Purple Mansion realm, even the strong men of the 9th level of the Purple Mansion realm will perish. With a plan in mind, the Lord of Worshipping the Moon immediately ordered the elders to carry out his orders. In the most central area of Canglan, there is a very huge canyon. A river here has long since dried up, now it is already a sea of people. Powerhouses and geniuses from all major dynasties, sects, and aristocratic families have gathered here, waiting for the opening of the spiritual path. There are tens of thousands of people, but it is still not crowded, and in the central area of the canyon, there is a huge altar made of stones of 5 colors, covering a radius of hundreds of feet, very conspicuous. This is the entrance to the spiritual path. In the past, the 5-colored stones on the altar looked very ordinary, and there was no other difference except that they were extremely strong, but now, these 5-color stones all emit a faint light, and they are still constantly absorbing the spiritual energy between heaven and earth. Obviously, the secret realm is about to be opened. At the end of the spiritual road, you can enjoy spiritual empowerment. I don't know who will be the first to reach the end of the spiritual road this time. It goes without saying that it must be Qin Feng. Her current cultivation is already at the 4th level of the Luanhai realm, and she can be said to be the number 1 genius among young people of this generation. That's hard to say. There are still some forces in the Canglan territory, which have always been hidden from the world. Although they are not as powerful as the few great dynasties, they may not be able to produce geniuses that surpass Qin Feng. In the canyon at this time, various guessing voices kept ringing out. In addition to those who are qualified to enter the spiritual path, there are quite a few people who came to watch the fun, and various discussions came and went. There were even people who opened the market and directly bet on the game. As for the first person to break through to the end of the spiritual path and obtain spiritual empowerment, most people think that it should be Qin Feng. At this time, Qin Feng was obviously used to the feeling of being discussed, so she looked at the 5-color altar with a calm face. Beside her are some other geniuses of the great Xia royal family, such as Qin Zhou, the son of the 4th prince. Boom! Suddenly, in the canyon, the 5-color altar burst out with dazzling light. The spiritual energy between the heavens and the earth is all surging madly, absorbed by the 5-color altar. Crack! And above the 5-color altar, a huge crack suddenly appeared in the void. It is tens of feet high. Not only that, the crack began to spread rapidly to both sides. A void crack just appeared out of thin air. Hiss! I really don't know who arranged this 5-color altar, but it has such terrifying power that it can directly tear a crack in the void. Looking at the cracks in the void in front of him, shocking voices came and went. Although they had seen the records in ancient books, they were not as shocked as they saw intuitively. They all looked shocked. After about 3/4 of an hour, the entire crack began to stabilize. Ha! The spiritual road is open, the treasures of heaven and earth, first come, first served. At this moment, a young man laughed loudly, took a step forward, and flew towards the crack in the void. In an instant, it sank into the void crack and disappeared without a trace. If someone takes the lead, someone will naturally follow. For a while, many people are flying towards the crack in the void. Not long after, hundreds of people entered the secret realm. there are not only the arrogance of the major dynasties and sects, but also some geniuses from small forces, even casual cultivators. However, there are also those who are beyond their age, or whose bones are too weak, and are kicked out after entering the void crack, which is extremely embarrassing, causing bursts of laughter. Let's go in too, Qin Zining said slowly. Qin Zhou and the others beside her nodded, although Qin Zining was the youngest among all of them. Because of Qin Zining's strong cultivation, everyone was used to listening to her. Be careful in the spiritual path, try not to touch those dangerous treasures. This spiritual path is closed. If you encounter danger in this spiritual path, no one can save you. Qin Zhonyan and Mr. Chen, who were in charge of sending them over, reminded them, nothing is more important than security. Qin Zining and the others nodded, and then flew towards the crack in the void. Shoo! Accompanied by a white light, everyone was dizzy for a while. After reacting, he had already appeared in a completely strange world, standing in mid-air. The aura here is abundant, almost dozens of times that of the outside world. At a glance, there are almost endless mountains in sight, and occasionally the roar of monsters can be heard. Wow! Is this the spiritual path? The aura is so lush, I really want to stay here forever. It's a good idea. When the spiritual path is closed, everyone will be kicked out automatically. Everyone who entered here couldn't help but let out a sound of wonder, don't want to go out at all. Let's go ahead and have a look. Qin Zining watched more and more white lights emerge, and a large number of people entered inside, and said slowly. Qin Zhou and the others nodded, and they all flew forward, and those who entered the secret realm later, after sighing, also moved forward one after another, wanting to find all kinds of natural treasures here. At the same time, inside the Taizu Imperial Mausoleum, Qin Feng was recuperating with his eyes closed on the recliner, when he suddenly opened his eyes. A look of surprise appeared in his pupils. The breath of the demon. Has the demon entered the spiritual path? That he muttered to himself. The extremely pure sword intent in Qin Zining's small pure gold sword could help him detect the situation around Qin Zining. Just now after Qin Zining entered the spiritual path, he was surprised to find that around Qin Zining's body, there was a faint demonic energy, very faintly, but he could still feel it. Haven't all the demons been suppressed by the great dynasties? Moreover, there have been no traces of demons in the Canglan domain for thousands of years. Why did they suddenly appear in the spiritual path? For a moment, Qin Feng had many doubts in his heart. He frowned, not liking this passive feeling. He likes to be proactive, like the enemy in the light. He is in the dark. I like others to be below and he to be above. This feeling of not knowing the other party's situation made him a little uncomfortable. However, Qin Feng quickly stabilized his mood. Even though the rain is about to come, I will stand still. If you don't have enough strength, what can you do with more tricks? The demon that entered the spiritual path did not have a strong aura, and the sword intent he injected into Qin Zining's pure gold sword can be condensed into an incarnation outside the body, and the combat power is not comparable to those demons. As long as those demons dare to attack Qin Zining, he will definitely let them know what real cruelty is. Ask for a free gift, ask for a 5-star praise. Chapter 51 Magic Cultivation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the next 3 years, Qin Zining, who was in the spiritual path, and many companions of the great Xia royal family, gained a lot. Not only did they obtain a large amount of natural treasures and rare ancient medicines, but they also obtained a very rare piece of refining material in a river valley, although it is far from being able to compare with the materials used to make holy artifacts. It is still more than enough to make a 5th-order spiritual weapon, and it is worth a lot. However, with various treasures of heaven and earth, there are also a lot of dangers. They encountered powerful monsters several times, and were also attacked by Tianjiao or casual cultivators of other forces, but fortunately, relying on Qin Zining's cultivation base that was superior to his peers, they repeatedly saved themselves from danger. At noon one day, Qin Zining and the others had just obtained a few rare spirit crystals from a cave. They were resting by a river and were roasting monster meat to replenish their strength. Next year, the last section of the spiritual road will be opened. Then, Zining, leave us alone and find a way to be the first to reach the end of the spiritual road. When everyone was resting, Qin Zhou said slowly, there is only one place for spiritual empowerment. Qin Zining must rush to the end of the spiritual road as soon as possible. If he takes them with him, he will only be dragged down. Everyone else nodded. If Qin Zining can get the opportunity to receive the spiritual energy empowerment, her cultivation will definitely be greatly improved, and by that time, no one in the Canglan domain will be able to match her. Even because of this, she may have the opportunity to pass the assessment of the holy places and join those holy places. However, Qin Zining shook her head. No, in the past 3 years, we have obtained too many treasures from heaven and earth, and many people are envious. If I separate from you, someone will definitely plan on you. She said slowly, in that case, you will be too dangerous. Although the opportunity of spiritual energy empowerment is precious, if she has to exchange her companion's life, she is absolutely unwilling. What's more, if they take out so many natural and earthly treasures, it will be of great benefit not only to them, but also to the offerings of many great Xia royal families, which can enhance the strength of the entire dynasty. The overall value is not necessarily lower than that of her alone receiving the aura empowerment. Qinzhou and the others were a little surprised when they heard this, and at the same time felt a little ashamed. In the past, when Qin Zining's meridians were damaged, they didn't treat Qin Zining as a family member at all, but she didn't expect that now Qin Zining would be willing to give up the chance of aura empowerment for their safety. You should think about it again. After all, it is. Qin Zhou and others wanted to persuade Qin Zining. However, at this moment, Qin Zining's pretty face was serious, and she suddenly looked at the dense forest not far away. Who? Come out, that she drank coquettishly. He was in a completely different state from when he was talking to Qinzhou and the others just now, ready to draw his sword at any time. Qinzhou and the others looked in the direction Qin Zining was looking in doubt, but found that everything was normal there, and there was nothing abnormal. Haha. I didn't expect you to be so cautious and find us. However, at this moment, several figures came out from the dense forest. All of them had pale faces and exuded a very evil aura. You also want to rob us? Qin Zining looked at these people, and said coldly, before you do it, I hope you can think clearly. There are not many who robbed us these years, and only a few survived. Ha ha. However, those strange figures laughed loudly. Yinjiu, who was the leader, said with a mocking face, the natural talents and earthly treasures on your body may be very attractive to others, but they still can't catch our eyes. Today, I am asking you to submit to the Moon God Sect. The current moon-worshipping sect master has completely exposed his wolfish ambitions. He has changed the name of the demon cult to the moon-worshipping sect, and regards himself as the founder of the demon cult. Worshipping the moon god. Hearing this name, Qinzhou and the others were startled at first, then their faces changed suddenly, and they shouted in surprise, are you members of the Northern Wilderness Demon Sect? Of course, they have heard of the name of the Lord of the Moon worship. After all, he was the #1 genius in the Canglan territory, but they didn't expect that this time, the demon sect also sent people to enter the spiritual path. You guys are pretty smart. Yinjiu said coldly. Humph. A group of demon cult disciples also want us to surrender. What a wishful thinking. Qinzhou shouted angrily, an astonishing breath erupted from his body, the 4 heavens of the Luanhai realm. During the 4 years in this spiritual path, there are a large number of natural materials and earthly treasures, and his cultivation base has been promoted to the realm of the 4th heaven of the Luanhai realm. Boom boom. In Qinzhou's hand, there was an extra long spear, and the fiery red aura surged on it, like a flame burning. His figure moved in an instant, and shot directly towards Yinjiu. Wherever he passed, the surrounding grass was even burnt yellow by the scorching aura in an instant. Arriving in front of Yinjiu, the long spear in his hand stabbed fiercely. It's just the 4th heaven of Luanhai realm, and it's also a shame here. Seeing this, Yinjiu waved his sleeves, the majestic devilish energy swept out and attacked Qinzhou. Boom. When Qinzhou's spear collided with the sweeping demonic energy, an astonishing wave of spiritual energy erupted immediately. The sound was deafening, the billowing aura fluctuated like ripples, sweeping away. Qinzhou was even sent flying, and landed heavily beside Qin Zining and the others, his face pale. Several other people were shocked, and hurried forward, helped Qinzhou up, and gave him the elixir. Demon energy. You are demon cultivators. Qin Zening was horrified. She had met the disciples of the demon sect before, and they were completely different from demon cultivators like Yinjiu, who had surrendered to the demon and had been infused with demon energy by the demon. The demon energy released from Yinjiu's body just now is completely different from the black spiritual energy in the body of a normal demon cult disciple. Hehe, you're pretty smart, and you recognized him right away. Yinjiu sneered, and said, quickly kneel down and surrender. It's nothing more than a group of human beings who practice the magic skills, but now you have become a demon cultivator, turning yourself into a guy who is neither human nor demon. Don't you feel ashamed of the sages of the human race? Qin Zi coquettishly shouted. She didn't have any dislike for the demon cult, because her father taught him to be tolerant. Those demon cult members didn't wantonly massacre people like demons, so it was just a different way after all, but now, these demon cult disciples have become demon cultivators, which made her very angry. What are you? You are qualified to evaluate us. Yinjiu was annoyed. He was poked at the sore spot, and said, today I also want all of you to kneel at my feet and bow your heads to surrender. While speaking, a terrifying wave of aura erupted from his body. The cultivation base of the 8th layer of the Luanhai realm is undoubtedly revealed. Not only Yinjiu, but the companions beside him also showed powerful aura fluctuations, and the weakest one was also the 4th heaven of the Luanhai realm. They were the arrogance of the demon cult, but before they entered the spiritual path, they were infused with demon energy by the moon worshipper, and their cultivation was forcibly raised. Which was astonishing. In addition, in this spiritual path, a large number of Tianjiao have been swallowed up, so the current cultivation base is very terrifying.